welcome back to the EXP Podcast. We have a special year in review episode for you this month, just coming out just before Christmas, and I'm joined by the wonderful Kem, Luan, and Jacob, and they're gonna tell you a bit about themselves now. So, Kem, start us off.
Yeah, I'm Kem. I'm a senior environment artist at Rare at the moment, working on Sea of Thieves, and also one of the owners for Experience Points. Initially started it with Kryca, and now I generally just handle the day-to-day tasks of EXP and kind of delegate, those tasks to other people.
Hi. First of all, excuse me if I sound a bit rough. I'm a bit ill at the moment. I'm Luan. I'm a senior environment artist at Playground Games, working on Fable. At EXP, I am one of the owners. I handle more of the EXP production side of things, which is why you don't usually see me too much on the main EXP server. It's the our asset packs and our scenes and that kind of stuff. Even the podcast itself falls under the production side of things. So, yeah.
Yes, I'm Jacob. A lot of people also know me as Kryca from the server itself. I'm a 3D artist at High Voltage Software, and I'm also an owner, but I generally handle more of the Discord itself and the community, as well as the articles and the article shares as well.
Awesome. So, you guys kind of mentioned a little bit about what each of you do, but it'd be good to start off maybe by just talking about, if we can just run over all the different things that kind of EXP has done this year, like whether they be stuff you did before or new stuff. So, Kem, why don't you give us a little rundown of all the things, and I guess other people can jump in when they remember anything or if you miss anything.
Yeah, sure. Hopefully I don't miss anything. Sorry. I think everyone knows us for the articles that we publish. So of course that's a staple. The past year has been really good. So we've kind of built out the tutorial side of EXP and looking to continue growing that, as well as the podcast. Just trying to focus more on the quality side of things rather than quantity. I think moving forward as well, we've got other plans that I think we can dive into. But I think the big ones were the podcast and the tutorials earlier this year.
So alongside those and the articles, and Luan talked about having ownership of the production side. So you also released a couple of asset packs this year.
Yeah. So the production side, maybe we can get into this a little bit later, maybe now. So the production side started off just as a test. We made a scene, the lab, which was it was what we wanted to achieve with it was a sort of tuition-like scenario where we would teach some people. Like basically there was a studio hierarchy, and it was like a senior, maybe a mid, and then the juniors, which were all meow to you too. You might hear my cat in the background. Not my cat, Josh's cat. So and then that didn't pan out so well. Like the scene turned out great. I really, really proud of the scene and the work that everyone's done, but just the structure wasn't really working. So we restructured things a little bit. We started doing an asset pack, which we finished this year, which was the camp. I think that turned out pretty nice. It's out there. I think people like it. And then we also have another Viking project, which is taking a little while to come out. But again, it's gone through a few restructures of how we're going to do things. And in all of these restructures, we ended up including the podcast into EXP Productions as well. So you can see the label EXP Productions as more of a I would say products and services. I suppose tutorials might be part of that as well, but I guess we've never really discussed that. But yeah, it's kind of like the products and services part of EXP, which I think, the projects are going well. I think we got some good ideas for what's come down the line, what we want to do, how we want to structure things going forward. But there has been some delays, which it's not proud of those delays, but it's the way things go, and we're trying to fix it. So yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, the community, we've also we had our challenge, our second challenge actually. That went really well. We did it with the rookies this time. It was hosted on their site. and all of us, including several others in our community, got to judge it. There was a lot of great turnout from that. We saw a lot of young artists do a lot of great work. Otherwise, we also are currently running a community event, just a little Secret Santa in 3D, as we called it. And it was just people would give a gift that they would want to, receive as a model, something simple that anyone could make in about 30 days or so. And then they would be assigned another person who wanted a gift, and then they'll be exchanging those gifts come close to the end of the year. We're excited to see all that going on. If there's anything else we've done community
No, I don't think. I think the other big thing is obviously just the Discord server in general. I think it's just maturing. And the growth is pretty exponential. Like we've already passed 6,000 members in the space of 2 years, which is pretty fast compared to other servers. So, we have pretty good numbers in terms of members and active users as well.
I was going to say, I think that's a big thing to note, the active users as well. It's definitely one of the most active sort of 3D art servers out there. There's, every channel is always a lot going on, which is not every Discord server is like that, where you kind of have so many people that are so active every day.
Yeah, we've restructured the server a fair few times this year, in order to try and find the best that it can be. Kraken can speak a little bit more towards this, but it's, if you see a lot of changes happen, like we're constantly trying to sort of better the server so that people can have a good time in there, and I think it's coming through well, because a lot of people like come in and they stay and they engage, so it's quite nice to see.
Yeah, I think it's done a wonderful job. There's definitely been spots of growth pains as we expanded. I remember when we very first started, we were maybe 50 people first week or so, and the environment is mostly stayed the same, but there's obviously things that changed as we grew and grew and grew, and we got to 100 and 200, and then 1,000 and several thousand. And yeah, I remember, there's been a lot of talks just in our voice channels between myself, Luan, Cam, I'm sure as well, and some of our users, and just what they thought was working well and what they didn't think was working as well. We've launched some channels that we then later closed because, they weren't quite working the way we wanted to, or they were kind of confusing users. And it's kind of a trial and error. I think we've reached mostly a happy medium, but, we're always looking to improve it and make it better use for everyone and make sure everyone has a good time. And yeah, we've also restructured some of our rules just to kind of more accommodate the server size and people, just so we kind of keep it a little bit more organized and a little bit easier flowing.
And I think you got some more moderators this year as well. Expanded the team a bit there.
Yeah, we're expanding the team. I think it's a natural evolution of like any community where you grow the team. Sometimes people step down for any reason. Maybe it's not for them, or they just want to they don't have time for it, and then you kind of bring new people in, and the moderators we have been really, really good for the server. Just kind of keeping that active community that I think makes us stand out. So obviously that always comes down to the moderator team, just keeping everything in check and within rules, but obviously not taking the fun away from people communicating with one another.
It's difficult, right? Because like sometimes we do have to be more forceful with some rules, and there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that people don't see, that like we ban people, we mute people, we kick people, we talk to people, we tell people off. So there's a lot of that going on, and it's stressful sometimes how many troublemakers we get. But yeah, it's all part of building and growing the servers, and the bigger you get, the more of this you're gonna get. So
it's always the way. So we've kind of touched on all the different stuff that's kind of been going on or growing this year. So it'd be good to kind of look at a review of the parts that you think went really well and the parts that you think perhaps could have gone better. just a bit of a review of kind of how things have gone. So I don't know who wants to start us off on that.
Yeah, I don't mind unless someone else wants to jump in. Yeah, I think this year went well. Like, I think our first year in EXP was really good, like really strong. Like we had good momentum with the articles. We actually had more than we needed, so that was a bit of a firestorm with Cracker. But again, like I think the first year was good because we did that. We started up the EXP productions with the lab. We got the tutorials going as well, so there was like a lot of firepower. And I think the second year was kind of just maturing what we already had. So we found a new rhythm for the articles and kind of stopped having all the chefs in the kitchen, if that makes sense. So we kind of delegated. Kryca would do all the article side of things with Ryan, and Luan would take the EXP production side of things, so that I don't have to kind of run around like a headless chicken with everything. And that kind of freed up my time to do the tutorials and kind of plan more future things for the server. So I think the second year was, as much as it may not have been like amazing on the public side of things like the first year, I think behind the scenes it helped us a lot from just a production side aspect.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah, I
most
would agree.
successful thing's got to be the Discord itself, right, Kryka?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I'd also add is there was a lot of changes also just between all of us in our lives, right? Kem, you started another new job this year. Luan, you also switched jobs.
We're just collecting them like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might as well
work
be.
everywhere at this rate.
And yeah, I think a lot of it was maturing. A lot of it was also just developing what we wanted to be, because there was all the new ideas in the first year, and then a lot of it was like how we came to be. In terms of any things that I think didn't go quite as well as they could have, I think my part in the articles this year, we kind of had a gap. Some people might have noticed. I'll just explain my reasoning. I was trying to make sure we didn't end up with what we had previously, where we had articles for 8 months out.
Yeah.
And I always felt bad telling people. They'd be like, "Oh, like when's my article coming out?" And I'm like, "Well, I've got you in about 6 months, or next year."
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
And yeah, I was going to say, I feel like that's it's just something people don't see unless you're part of the team. You don't see when poor people have articles that they're waiting to release for 6-7 months.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I tried reducing it to a lower amount, but we ended up not having enough, so there was a little bit of a pause. And I think we're getting back into a good rhythm now, so we'll probably sit at our current rate. I think will work really well.
Kind of hard, right? Because it's not like we can just go, hey, release all the articles. I think at one point we thought, hey, let's maybe release like an article a day for the next 2 weeks or something. We went through so many ideas.
It's a balancing act, right? You don't really want to, because some artists are fine, like bless them when there's a couple where you tell them, yeah, we've kind of got too many, and they're like, I'll just release it whenever, and they're great, like that's really good to hear. But then there's other artists where they kind of they may need it out for for visa or like a job opportunity where they want to improve their chances, and you kind of feel for them. You're like, I gotta move people about and see where we can release this article sooner. So yeah, it's just the learning curve, Tim. I think I think now we're definitely more streamlined. We're not as stressed as we were the first year. Like working till midnight or 1 a.m. with Kryca and Luan on something is kind of behind us. Like we don't really have to do that too much, thankfully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when we very first started and we reached out to a bunch of people. I was working part time at a studio, and I was on calls with Kem, and it'd be like 3 a.m. my time and stuff, and just reviewing these articles. And I'm really grateful. People in the community like Ryan and other people stepped up to help manage the articles and help us even that load. Yeah.
And that's not to say we're not going to keep improving as well, of course, right?
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lot that we're happy about. There's a lot that we're unhappy about, but we're always trying to find ways to, as we said, we matured. I think now it's, as we start to settle this part of EXP and this year of EXP or era, whatever, like we start to look ahead and go like, okay, what did we learn? What else can we apply? So yeah, I think we're gonna continue to look forward and see where we can hit these things, because the articles are now like you think about it. Okay, so we do articles, they go out, people read them, uh we've done them for 2 years, whatever, and then you start to think about like, well, what can we do to make the articles more interesting now? Like, what kind of DLC can we tack onto the articles, right? Like but yeah, it's about asking those questions and sort of just figuring out like, oh, what can we improve in certain things, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, tagging off that for just a split second, I think even the article quality has improved. Not to say that it was any fault of the artist. I think it was just the questions we were asking got a lot more in depth. We started to push a lot more for breakdowns and like really get into the fine tuning rather than how we started, which was kind of just asking the general questions of articles.
Yeah, I think the big part of, again, it's something that happens behind the scenes, but I feel like, anyone listening, like, I feel like what helps our articles really sell in the quality is kind of the review process, because we don't really take the article at first submission. Basically, like if someone sends an article, we'll do that brief skim. I think we kind of added this in the second year Cracker, I can't remember, where we were like getting some articles that were just way too short and we didn't really want to release those, and we decided to add that step where we'll review it, and if it doesn't live up to the quality bar of EXP, we kind of send it back. Because it's a two-way fold where they're giving us content and we're releasing content for them, so it kind of has to be mutually beneficial.
But I guess moving on from my side of things that didn't go well. Yeah, I think there's a lot about the projects which I don't know. It's kind of like, one thing I've noted is that even if you're paying people, as soon as they get jobs, and this was the problem with getting students, as soon as they get jobs, they drop off, and it's nigh impossible to get new content from them, and then you have to look elsewhere, or some people would not quite communicate so well, and they'd end up doing too much work and more so than they were allowed to. And there was just a lot of like little missteps, which I think we've learned from. I certainly have, and it's something I'm looking to improve going forward. It has produced, of course, a slower process than I would have liked, a much slower process than I would have liked. And on top of that, like I was still am doing the environment part of these, right? So it's like, whereas I have a lot of artists making props that I basically write out a huge request list and send it out, and with breakdowns, etc. But like, I have not only been extremely burned out in the past year, to be entirely honest. I've also got like other stuff that I have to do, other projects, freelance stuff that I have to take care of. Plus, I changed jobs. And I think that all kind of got to me, and it kind of made me slow down just to a halt. I'm sure everyone's noticed I've pretty much disappeared from the Discord a lot as well. I've been taking a lot more time for myself. And even taking time for myself, I'm kind of just sitting on the counter going like, well, what even is my life? Just looking at the wall and, like, well, so I'm trying to get back in the groove, trying to see what I can, where I can apply some of the lessons we've learned. And, I've already started by hiring a bunch of extra artists on the Emir project, which is the Viking project, which I'm hoping should wrap up within the next month or two. And yeah, like it's about getting these lessons that I've learned in the past year and trying to apply them going forward, because it's I almost need like a producer or something. Or even to just not do the environment part. Like maybe I get someone else to be the environment artist on the team, and I literally just do the production lead art part. So yeah, it's there's a lot that didn't go well there, but I think the quality and what we've produced is awesome. It's just the process was it had challenges. So yeah, I think that on that side, that's what didn't go well. But I think everything else, like the tutorials were put out great, the articles were put out great. What I really like about the articles is that we started branching out towards more less environment art stuff and more maybe concept art stuff, maybe character art stuff. We started looking into more of that kind of stuff, which is nice. It's something we were hoping to do with tutorials as well. And yeah, like just branching out from that, not niche, but that one discipline to like multiple, right? I think something that we really want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the tutorials are something that's gone really, really well this year. It's really taken off. If I'm correct, I think you got like top 50 seller on ArtStation or something with the tutorials.
Yeah, we did. So doing pretty well on ArtStation. Obviously, I don't know where we are in the top 50, but we're in the top 50. It could be 50. It could be 1. We don't really know, Tim. So
I think something that's really setting the tutorials aside as well is that you've got quite a lot of tutorials that are talking about some more fundamental concepts, not just... There's a lot of tutorials that are like, here is how you make a barrel 1-to-1, right? And they're useful to an extent, but there's a lot of more experienced, mid-senior. They don't need to be told how to make a barrel, but you've got like some courses on concept art, some on talking about like color and how to kind of use that in assembling things, and lighting, like higher level overviews of these things. And I think that stuff's really gone down well, because there just isn't that much content like that out there, and YouTube is kind of the wild west of finding useful things. So having just that high quality curated,
especially now when there's no dislike button on YouTube, you don't know what's good or not.
I think that comes from something that I've mentioned before, which is like, if you the first project, which was like, oh, we're kind of trying to teach, and it's something I think at least me and Kim talked a lot about back in uni many years ago, which is it's the whole difference between a production artist and an artist, which is, oh, I will sit here and do exactly what's given to me, which is great. Like you'll learn a lot. You'll learn how to make barrels. You'll learn how to make your weapons. But then you have the more artistic, part, whereas the more creative, where they take the fundamentals, they develop these skills to create something different. Like to push themselves, not to just push out the next brief, right, but rather to explore, to see how can they evolve, how can their fundamentals increase their knowledge in making a concept or something, right? Like I think that's part of something that I think we're really passionate about here, which is just teaching more of, they're not even soft skills, but they're just sort of the more intrinsic skills, the less hard skills, right? I don't know what the word for it is. I don't know if you guys fill it in here, but like, yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is that we want to teach more about what it's like being an artist rather than what it's like to make art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree. There was, when we were starting up the tutorials, we had a lot of discussions about like, what do we want in those tutorials? And one of the things we all came across is like, we don't want like a 1-to-1 tutorial, because we kind of found that a lot of those, you kind of just follow, right? You look up that first substance designer tutorial you found, and you just follow it step by step painfully. And we wanted to teach a lot of the like little skills and tricks that you can find along the way, and a lot of like techniques over like following a specific path, because that really opens up, like, it's kind of giving you another tool rather than just like, all right, copy this exact painting. It's like giving you another brush or giving you another chisel to work with that fills a niche rather than like copy. So
yeah, I mean, I think the main thing that we kind of started with the tutorials was, just focusing on the fundamentals, like more the workflow and like the process rather than the end result. And I'm pretty sure like the main inspiration for that was one of Daniel Tiger's substance tutorials, like the fundamentals, where he just goes through like one node in Substance Designer and just shows you how to use it. But the end result isn't like anything finished. It's more just how to use something in the software, and like just a small glimpse into like the capabilities of it, and then you're kind of left free to explore like your own way. So And then when we pitch the tutorials, it's always in that rough direction where it's like, look, don't make a 10-hour tutorial, but 3 to 4 hours, give or take, and just focus on like the process or something useful that people can experiment with on their own at the end, but they still feel like they've got their money's worth, because obviously they want to charge what we charge, and they feel like they don't get something worth the value. So I think we've managed to find a good balance, thankfully.
Yeah, I think that like if you look at the first batch of tutorials, there's it's definitely like it's a little bit less adventurous, I guess. It's a little bit more applicable skills. But like something I tried to do in that first tutorial, the fundamentals of modular kit stuff, is I was trying to talk to people just like what is it like to make modular kits? What are you looking for? But then a lot of the questions that came back is like, oh, how did you do this technique, this specific thing? I'm like, I mean, the reason I didn't really talk about it and I didn't go 2 hours in depth into how exactly I do my custom normals or whatever in Max, like it's because it's not what the tutorial is. The tutorial's teaching you like a very fundamental skill in environment art rather than a very hands down, how do I craft this pot skill, which I think I hope we continue to push. I think we have some really cool stuff down the line, which is gonna sell really well. It's gonna look really good. So yeah, it's always at the DNA of EXP to sort of teach more of I guess the broader aspects of being an artist.
Yeah, it definitely works very well. It's more like offering the tutorials sort of come together more like a toolbox rather than an instruction manual. And there's all different, you can pick and choose what's applicable or useful to you at a moment. But none of them are going to kind of hold your hand and tell you exactly, if you click these 10 buttons, you'll get this exact result. It's not about that. It's about how, this higher level concept, show you how to do this little thing. You could combine several of these together and you can use them, mix and match into a scene, into a prop, whatever you're doing, but you'll kind of, that, I think that process produces people who have a better understanding of how things work. There's not to stigmatize Blender, but I feel like there's a lot of kind of like YouTube tutorials specifically with like Blender and stuff where you get people who just want the most hand holding possible, and it's not really how it is, in a professional working environment. You're not going to be having someone sit down next to you. They're not going to tell you exactly which button to press. They're going to, give you a bit of concept art if you're lucky, and tell you to go and make this thing. And it's on you to know, how to get that together, or you might have a few bits of detail in a brief or something. But I think that's the key skill, and I think the real selling point that EXP has kind of pushed on this year very specifically is about building a community of people who are artists who either already have a job or pushing people who are coming out of university and guiding them into finding that job, and I think that's it's not a community necessarily of hobbyists. It's a community for people who want to work in games, or people who do work in games, and they can talk with fellow people on their level, and I think that's been really, really successful this year in particular. The quality of feedback and stuff on the Discord is just it keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, I would very much agree. I would also say, it's not only just for game devs. We have people who do film and people who do other principles inside as well. But that's been one thing that's been fantastic, is just, seeing someone who joined the server a year ago, 2 years ago, who, was just, in uni or just got out of uni. And, then you see, up in these last few months, we've seen tons of people getting, new jobs, which is fantastic. These people were active. They were always, pushing to get feedback. Not to say, you get in the server, you get a job, but it's certainly, you see the growth, and you see a lot of people, is happy to help, offering, what help they can, help pushing those scenes. It's been fantastic, and it's the most exciting thing, for me when I I see the new person who's been looking for work or, applying to jobs, they get to change, their little title and it says, where they're working. I think that's a fantastic thing to see. And it's been awesome to be part of the community. That's helped that.
For sure. All right, I'm going to jump us into some Patreon questions right now. I think there's some pretty good ones there that will help us talk about some of the other stuff that we wanted to touch on. Cool. So I'm going to run through these in order that we have. So Roger, starting us off, he's got a few questions here. I'll do one bit at a time, and we can kind of quick fire answer on them. So, have you ever thought about an experience points game studio?
Yeah, that's crossed your mind a few times.
Thought about it.
Next question, Tim. No, I'm joking. No, I mean, yeah, it would be cool to do. I think the biggest issue with that is kind of is time. At the end of the day, I think most people would probably expect the money side to be the issue, but in my opinion, it's more the time and the idea, because I think, we all work in game dev, so building something isn't the issue. And getting funding isn't the issue, because once you build something that's fun and enjoyable and looks good, I think it's pretty easy to kind of pitch that around and hopefully catch the right fish, especially with like experience points as a brand and a company, and we've had funding through Epic Games previously as well. So it's more just the time and all being able to kind of commit to these things, and it kind of ties back to what Luan was saying with the production side of things, where sometimes people get a job and then they completely stop working on the one thing that they can drop. And I think a good example is like when people need to cut their expenses, for example, the first thing they normally cut is like the gym. Just spitballing ideas, they'll get rid of that. So I feel like EXP as a game studio kind of has to be like a full-time thing where, that's kind of what you're committed to. It's a job in itself. It's not something you can just, you wake up the next day and you've got a job from Blizzard or just, like EA or whatever, and it's like, all right, I'm going to stop working for the EXP game for a bit.
And who knows, like, how it might manifest. It might manifest in a way that it's like innovative and like never been done before, or it might be just another traditional game studio, or it might never happen, or it might be a thing where, like, I don't know, a bunch of people get together, do a games jam, and come out with like a little thing, right? Like, maybe it's a platform. Maybe it's a platform to get games going. Maybe we're publishers or something like that, right? Like, there's lots of ideas. There's all kinds of stuff we want to do, and we do want to do them. But that is a mammoth task for when we're 40 years old and have been directors for like 10 years of our lives. So, but it's constantly on our minds. We definitely want to do something like that at one point.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely needs. I think like the production stuff that you've been doing, Luan, it takes a bit of time to get these things going and get it worked out and feasible, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it needs like I said, it needs a producer, right? So that's one more job you have to add there. That's one more bigger, I guess, aspect of the pipeline that has to be worked out. And imagine that, but like 20-fold, and you have an actual studio. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just us four here, and we decide to make a video game together, and we just call it EXP Productions as a publisher, right? Like, so who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? Maybe we finally put on the. I'm just spitballing here, but maybe we finally do the whole like tuition thing where we only make games with students, and it's a platform for students to get somewhere. I don't know. Who knows?
Have to see. Okay, next one. Do you have a stylized ZBrush ArtStation? No, not ArtStation. A stylized ZBrush course planned for EXP?
At the moment, no. Looking around for artists. So, if there's someone that you want a tutorial from, just send it to an owner or a moderator, and you can kind of pitch these things to someone from the team, and they'll forward it up to me or Luan or Kryca. But there's nothing in the pipeline.
Yeah, that's not to say we wouldn't be open to it, but also stylized in itself is such a broad term, because you could say, oh, you want more the
I think it just means non-realistic, to be honest.
Yeah, So, yeah, it's something that could happen, but we don't currently, as Kem said, have any plans for it.
All right, next question. How did all the EXP owners meet?
Well,
You want to go Luan?
me and Luan studied at university, so we've been best buds for what, 8 years now. I don't even know anymore. What, is it 2019 still? I don't know.
20 years, wow.
2012 is when we started uni. 2012 or 2013?
2013. So,
yeah,
we met back then. So, we've known each other for a while, and we've been at different countries and whatnot throughout those years. But that was like the simple one. For me and Kryca,
do you want me to tell it, or do you want to tell it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a short one. Well, I mean, yeah, we were in a different server at first. No More Grid. Maybe some people remember it. Maybe they don't, but it was kind of an alternative version of Experience Points. I don't really recall how I met Cry. I know he sent me a Wacom tablet pen for free. Thanks for that. But yeah, I think one day I just had so much free time in the afternoons from finishing work early. Kind of wanted to just start something similar to 80 level, but more curated to just like environment art, because obviously we're just two people. We didn't have the resources to do every discipline, so we just kind of focused on that and worked late shifts together, building something that focused on quality. And that was the main website. We didn't really initially plan a Discord server. I don't know if many people know that, but the whole reason the Discord server came around was because it kind of had this. I still remember it, but it's kind of like once you leave the website, for example, your experience ends. No pun intended, but like, you're not really on experience points anymore. You've completely forgotten about it. So a good way to bridge people to kind of keep the community alive, which we were talking about earlier in the episode, is letting them always be surrounded by experience points. So once they've left the website, they're in the Discord. If they're not in the Discord, then they're watching an EXP tutorial, and if they're not doing an EXP tutorial, they may be listening to a EXP podcast, and so on and so forth. So it's just that's kind of where it spiraled into and where it came from. I don't know how Luan and Kryca met. I think
just through EXP, wasn't it?
Yeah, I could add a little bit on both. So yeah, I'll give a little bit of the longer version of how Kem and I met. So Kem was working on oh goodness, it was one of the ArtStation challenges. I forget which one it was. I'll look it up in a second.
That was the King Arthur one.
The King Arthur, yes.
I remember that.
So yeah, I was just giving him some feedback on a piece, and I told him to add some like colored fog in there. So I kind of helped him work through a material on it. And then, yeah, he pitched me the idea of, a site similar. We took some influence from 80 Level and some of our own influence of what we wanted to do. And, we got started. We reached out to several artists, just kind of messaged them and were like, hey, how would you feel writing an article on your artwork? And a lot got back to us. We were really surprised, how many people wanted to do it. And still waiting on one or two from them. I'm joking. Those aren't coming. But,
I remember a few. I think Jason or Jay Cummings was one of them. Peter, John Joe. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then the Discord server, as Kem said, wasn't part of the initial plan. That kind of just came out after some discussion and the idea. I remember when we launched it, I was actually in surgery the day it launched. I had a surgery on my nose, and I woke up from surgery, and all of a sudden my phone just pings and has like 20 messages, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the server launched today." And I hadn't told Kem I was going to the surgery because it was just a quick day surgery, and there's all these messages of people getting in the server and everything.
Yeah. I think that was kind of the. I think those days, like, I sometimes email, but those were kind of the eras where I would just do things and just kind of tell Kryca afterwards. But, oh yeah, well, I made a Discord server. Oh yeah, I got this person on board to do this thing, and like things just kept popping off. It'd be like, cool, all right, great, lovely.
And then Luan and I we just kind of met through EXP. He was kind of my mentor, I would almost say, on my last project. Provided me a lot of feedback, and told me how to make it better. And his patience was incredible, as I very much owe him for that. So yeah, it was.
I think to add to that, like there was a point maybe back in 2018. I don't even remember 2017. I think you're still in Russia. Maybe you reached out to me about making something like this. That was like mentorships. I don't know if
Yeah,
that was
I vaguely
a
remember. Oh
previous
yeah,
version of EXP that you had in
yeah.
mind.
Because I think that was I think that was part of EXP because it's in the archive somewhere. But like we did actually launch with mentorships, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
But yeah, so that was killed very, very, very quickly. So yeah, there you go, Tim.
Well, that's actually a good point, because the last question is, I heard about mentorships from EXP. Do you have an estimation on when they could begin? So
Where have you heard this?
I don't know. I don't actually know who's heard this, but this is the question. So obviously at the moment you've got the Patreon, and through the Patreon you've got the the tiers that include an option to get one-on-one 1 hour calls every other month with some of the EXP artists. So is that changing?
So I don't know if that part will. It's kind of like an idea where, like I just said in the past, that you should just run wild with these things and just tell Kryca. Obviously now I run wild with these things and I tell Kryca and Luan, and then I get told off. I don't think we'll kill the Patreon thing in terms of the 1 hour memberships. I think a lot of people support our Patreon just to support us, to be honest. I'd say like maybe 15-20% actually claim the 1 hour sessions. So yeah, we appreciate the support, obviously. So I think we'd keep that, but for the actual mentorships, there's no set deadline. I'd probably say Q2, maybe early Q3. Since nothing's set up, there's no mentors or anything, or the website's not been built. But it's one of those things we're looking into, which again, it was one of the first things we put into EXP, and then the first thing we cut. But it just seemed like the logical evolution since we have such a large network with professional artists that people resonate with. There's probably 20-30 people that me, Cracker, and Luan could name like separately, like all different artists, maybe some similar that we'd love to get mentors from, and probably the server themselves, like loads of students and professionals that they'd love a mentorship from person X. So we have this huge network that we could utilize, which other platforms don't have.
There's I guess there's a issue that we have to tackle, which is the people support us on Patreon, and it's awesome, and we're very thankful for it. But like, how can we give something back to those people that they actually use? I don't know. I'm not saying that this is gonna take like shape through Patreon or anything, but like, these people have token to use on these artists every month or whatever, or every few months, and most of them don't use it. So it's like, how can we make sure that we're giving them something that is valuable to them, that they can actually use? Because we don't want to like, it's nice that people just support for the sake of supporting, and that's great, but maybe the bonuses that we give to Patreon can be a little bit more, I don't know, usable, and less forgotten, right? And then we can take the mentorships forward in a different direction. There's a lot of things that we're discussing in ways that to do stuff, but it's all part of like identifying some of the problems and some of the things that we can provide.
Yeah, it's always a balancing thing, right? Because if as soon as you start adding, like let's say gold tier, you start adding tokens that you can use on a real membership, like it starts to get really messy in terms of like you need someone to kind of keep tabs on all these things. And I think, for me, I would probably, if it was me, I'd probably make the mentorship completely separate from Patreon, and kind of like the one said, find something that they benefit from still being a Patreon member.
Yeah, I
Who
definitely take some mulling over, which happens with a lot of these decisions. We often spend time shooting ideas back and forth, talking with various people in the community even, and then shooting more ideas back and forth between us. And kind of seeing where we land, and then once we launch it, then we love hearing back from the community, what their thoughts are, what what's working, what's not.
Yeah, for sure. It's a real big step as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, will it happen? Yes. When will it happen? Sometime in the nearish future. How will it happen? No one knows. So
okay. We have now moving on from Kay. He's asked, what's the hardest part of running EXP?
Go on, Luan.
I mean, I don't know. Like, what is the hardest part? It's all relative. I think just having constant eyes on problems in the Discord is pretty takes some energy. So Kryca can talk a little bit more about that, I guess.
Yeah. The community, I love the community, don't get me wrong, but it's also sometimes the hardest thing because there's so much dynamics to it. There's so much involvement, and there's a lot of discussions on like, how do you handle stuff? Not even problems, just how do we handle people flowing through the community? A big discussion we've had was like the entrance to community. I think we've changed how people have entered 3 times, or maybe even more. And then obviously, what happens when someone's being a problem in the community, and they're either not gelling with the community or they're just kind of causing problems and issues and upsetting a lot of people. So you have to kind of go through that. And then, of course, there's bots that pop in every once in a while. We've done a fantastic job removing them, and I commend all the moderators for it. I remember one specific time, it was about 2 a.m. my time. I was laying in bed, and all of a sudden, I started getting pinged by a bunch of people because another bot entered the server. And I was like, oh man, I was just about to sleep. So I hop in, take that, delete it. But yeah, I think I would say keeping the community organized and running well is probably one of the hardest things. I've had a few sleepless nights thinking about it when we're making a lot of changes, and I'm certain Kevin Luan did as well. We had a lot of very late night discussions as well, just trying to figure out, how do we make this better for our users? How do we improve things?
I'd agree. One of them is the community, like you said, especially when you restructure things, because human beings don't really like change for the most part. So once you move a general chat somewhere else, they kind of want to start a revolution. They get the pitchforks out. But it's like, I think as the server grows, you just get so many more people from different cultures and lifestyles, and one thing that's normal for them is kind of maybe rude or not kind of normal for another person. So as a team, you kind of need to find a good balancing act where you kind of keep everyone happy. And it's not just the community side of things. I think a difficult thing is actually sometimes just the actual EXP team. Sometimes I think when we were trying to ban people and mute people, we'd kind of take it to like the fucking Supreme Court and, take
Yeah.
some weeks to decide if we're doing something with this person. And before you know it, the whole thing you're discussing is kind of vanished and kind of pointless now. But now we kind of just act very quickly. I think we kind of learned like with, let's say we got, I think 5 mods now. I can't remember, guys, and 3 owners. But I think in the past we used to kind of just wait for everyone to kind of agree, what we should do, which didn't work. And, now we kind of just let, if 2 or 3 people agree on something, then, that's kind of consensus, which saves us a lot of time as a team and actually helps the community because, if a toxic person comes in and, Doc and Becky decide to kick him, then that's fine. No one's going to question it.
Yeah, and those things, of course, are pretty easy to undo as well. So
yeah, exactly.
If there was ever a situation where we decided that wasn't the best course of action, we can always, say, oh, like maybe we shouldn't have done that, or we can apologize to the person or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I
think another hard part, I don't know if it's for Kryca or Luan, but it definitely was for me because obviously a lot of the stuff in the past used to just run through me naturally. Maybe because I started the thing like with Kryca solo, and a lot of these like the tutorials and stuff and the podcast, like I kind of had I guess you could say like quality control aspect of it. Having to help with the articles and everything, it was like really overwhelming. But I think throughout the months, like you kind of just, at least for me, I just learned to like delegate a lot more and kind of free up my time and trust people. Like Ryan's been fantastic with the articles. We trained him up and he kind of just runs that with Kryca now, which is a huge relief for me and the rest of the team, since we don't really have to worry about it so much. And that frees up time to kind of do new projects, like for example the book or the mentorships.
Yeah, I would agree. While the overlap was good, we had a lot of sight on everything because everything went through approval of all of us, and
Yeah,
it also got time consuming, and it just took a lot of
very.
energy from all of us because there's like, oh, like Kem's getting a new tutorial for us coming in, and then we're all worried about like all the stuff specifics of it.
Yeah,
And part of it also, I think was a little hard for all of us was kind of giving up a little bit of that control we all had.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I think it definitely made our lives a little bit easier once we got
I
used
think it's
to
a
it.
lot better now, but that was a big thing. I think, especially when you build something from scratch, like you kind of want to make sure it stays that way. Um, but you just learn to trust your team at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, again, there's always growing pains, and there's always things we're gonna learn, and I don't even know if this current iteration of the team and how it is, it's what's gonna end up here in a year's time. No one knows, right? But like, I think there's there's always things we can improve. There's always more ways to communicate. Maybe right now we're not even communicating properly. Maybe we are. I think the thing that Kim touched on with the team being kind of like a Supreme Court kind of, yeah, that was problematic. I think we mostly fixed that now. But I think there's still things that we want improved. Like we want more sort of, I guess, action on things, and um, just a bit of a silent and stealthy but tighter grip on the community and what's going on, right? On my side as well, I'd like to be more involved, and I think that came with my burnout this year. That all started about this time last year. And I think all kind of just hit finally, and I'd like to go back to being more involved. So I have a couple of projects I want to finish up, and just after that's done, I want to spend some time with the community a bit more. Um, and I even feel a little bit distanced from some of the decision making, not, all in part to myself, really, because I'm just dead. But and then on top of that, like, improving the production side of things, and what comes after that, what form it takes after that is would be pretty good to see. um but at the end of the day, I think we're all really having a good time with everyone, and I think that's what's important, really. Even if we're distant sometimes, even if things don't go as well, even if the community sometimes there's some drama and we have to step in and fix it. You can usually tell if something's going on if like you can usually tell if something's going on if like suddenly me, Kim, and Kryka appear on chat. That's usually a good sign that something needs to be fixed. But yeah, there's problems. There's good things, and we can only get better. So
Yeah, I mean, personally, looking forward, I'd love to see. Um, I feel like we could really hit some more involvement with ourselves in the community, um, similar to Luan. Yeah, just socialize, or just like even like more events we could do. This is spitballing off the cuff right now, but yeah, I feel Luan. I didn't quite have as bad of a burnout as Luan, but kind of that like midsummer this year, I was just I was just tired. I had a bunch of stuff going on in my personal life. I was dealing with a lot of work, and then just um, trying to keep up with the EXP. I just kind of like disappeared from chats for the most part, and just handle things as I could. But I think this year would be really good to see a lot of that growth back, and kind of even get some of that energy of the first year, just community wise. I'd love to get back to that.
And we have one final question from Angelo. He'd love to hear a couple of tips and tricks on how to smoothly run such a big Discord community, and some important lessons that you've learned from the process.
this is a podcast for another day.
Yeah, we can give some general notes.
Yeah.
All right then. How about each of you give us one tip? Let's do a quick fire then.
Okay. My one is to have rules that are vague enough to be very enforceable, right? So that you can ban someone just by vaguely breaking the rules if they're gonna be particularly troublesome or have at least been somewhat troublesome in the past. Even because if you have, oh, you must jump through 3 hoops and kick a child, that's when we ban you. Then it's like, okay, well, we really don't like this guy. He's being really troublesome, but he hasn't kicked a child yet, so we can't ban him. So excuse me. So something like, if person is being difficult, you have moderator, you are now allowed to ban on site and on demand. Like that's one of the things that we changed, right? So that's one of them. So just be somewhat vague with your rules in a way that you can enforce whenever problems happen. Yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah. Mine's a little bit different. I don't know if Kryca and Luan will agree. We'll see. But I actually think enforcing, I don't know, I think it plays a part in having such the Discord server where it is, but I think actually enforcing those rules publicly rather than behind closed doors actually helps a lot. A really quick example, for example, if someone's being toxic, let's say they're just being rude to a person, and scenario one, you just kind of DM them and tell them to stop. They might stop, and that's all good and well. But none of the rest of the community has no idea what's happened or like why something's been fixed or how. Whereas I feel like if you kind of add a public warning where the core community can kind of see it, they naturally become moderators in the Discord. Not an official moderator, but you get people like Kay or Cairo or Shirk. If no one's around and someone's being rude, they generally kind of jump in, and others as well that I haven't named, just because they know moderators have done it in the past or an owner.
And also because they care about the community, right?
Yeah. So I'm always for like if someone's being rude, like you kind of like kind of like a public image out of them or like an example. Like if you're gonna ban them, let everyone know you banned them and why. Obviously not write like a fucking testimonial or anything, but at the very least, the community can be aware of what's happened and they kind of enforce the rules themselves as well as the server grows. Because 8 people running a Discord server when we're at like 15,000 members, not the best ratio. But yeah, that's my input. Sometimes we ban people silently. If it's a Steam bot scammer or something, or a few other people, but everyone on the team has their own thoughts and opinions on that process. But that's kind of one of the big things that I think has got EXP where it is today in terms of the Discord.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you don't want to make an example of him in a complete, like a public shaming kind of way.
No, of course.
But it's important to show that there are strict rules, and that if you break them, you will be banned and kicked and hated and blacklisted. And I mean, there's a few people that have been troublesome in the past. I won't, of course, name them, but that I've gone like, well, if this person ever applies here, I'm not gonna tell.
There's always those in the server, right? And
yeah.
I guess my tip is understand sometimes you'll make wrong decisions, and be willing to change those. I think a big part of a lot of the changes we had implemented throughout this year in the server, a lot of them weren't the best choices. There's only so much we could discuss between us and a few other people. They'd be like, yeah, this sounds great on paper, and then you try and implement it and people don't like it or it doesn't quite flow right, and then you kind of have to go, okay, what's going wrong, right? Where are we not going? And just being ready to change those. I think that's been really important. And also not being too scared to make changes and to axe things in that same kind of vein. Like, don't be afraid to be wrong. Don't be afraid to change it. And like, don't be afraid to remove it if it's needed. I think those are really important.
I just wanted to add it's kind of I think as like owners and people that are part of a team of a Discord server, it's actually like being parts of the community. Because like in the past, I think me and Kryca have been part of servers where, the team just never interact with the Discord server, and it's pretty much just a server of random people that have kind of gathered in a mutual space and kind of just talking like like a Call of Duty lobby at the end of the day. Literally. But I think, and you can kind of see an EXP like where if Luan joins Gen Chat, or if I come in Gen Chat, for example, like, it's isn't like
cause chaos.
It isn't like blowing smoke up anyone's ass or anything, but like the chat tends to like liven up when certain people arrive in the chat, just because they may be a familiar face, or there may be like some inside jokes that they just kind of play on. Like Shaka Rise with Rebecca Black every Friday, and I try and mute him now before he does it, and it's just like a rolling gag at the end of the day, and there's just hundreds of those. And I think when members feel like they can do that with like the owners, like server owners or anyone from a Discord team, they just feel more safe and kind of at home in a server.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's partly why I want to be more involved. I mean, there's times, months even, where I've been pretty much non-stop on the Discord, and those usually are the months where I'm I've got the most free time, of course. But with the new job, of course, I'm trying to stay pretty much away from Discord during work hours. If anyone from Playground's listening to this, you heard nothing. But yeah, like I try to stay away from Discord at work hours now. Even in private messages, like I try not to really get that distracting me, because honestly, I'm getting, as I get more burned out in art, I get more and more distracted by everything, and it's just something I'm trying to cut. But then at the same time, nighttime comes and I just have zero energy, and I just don't really want to sit down on my computer. I actually often don't even turn on my computer anymore. So I want to go back to having that really fun time where I just come in, we just joke around, and I just cause chaos and just make life for the moderators more difficult. So I want to go back to that, and I think I will. As some of my side projects die down, I'll have a little bit more mental time for this kind of stuff. So, but it's important, right? Like I'm saying, it's important to have these people that I guess run the show to be involved, because it shows that there's care. I guess it shows that the people are looking after this thing, and it's not just a Call of Duty lobby.
Yeah,
So,
I think. Yeah, I mean, I guess my last note on that is like, if the Discord owner is not present, like, what's the point at the end of the day?
yeah.
Like, I don't know how else to say it, but I think if someone's running a Discord server, they should put the time and effort into being present now and then, like even if it's an hour a day, like, show the community that you care.
Which is why I've just written good morning in Gen Chat.
Yeah, so I think, hopefully that answers Angelo's question.
Right. Is there a was that the final question? There's a part 2.
Ooh, I like
I was
bonus
about to ask
questions.
the bonus
part
question.
2, but there is a part 2. He's also asking what the 3 to 5 year long-term game plan is.
Stay alive.
Honestly, at this point, it really is, isn't it?
Keep swimming.
Yeah. To be honest, like, I mean, there isn't really a 5-year plan on EXP. We kind of, it's more of a passion thing at the end of the day, and like, if we get new ideas, we think about them, we deliberate, and we think is it worth pursuing. Like, the mentorships is a good example, but it's not like we have a concrete plan, like next year we'll do this, and in 3 years we should be here. I think as long as, like, I personally think as long as EXP is still around, and people invite their friends, people are still active and helping people get jobs, like, that's the main thing that matters. I never built EXP to, and I say I, it's obviously we. When I say I, it's because obviously when we started Kryca, it was never like a money thing or like, I want to do this and then in 5 years time I want to make sure we're making like $1 million a year or whatever. Like it's just here to help people. So there really isn't a 5 year plan that I know of. I don't know if these two are planning
yeah, we should probably tell him now, Kryca, about the 5 year plan.
Yeah, the Kryca plan.
The Kryca plan. And honestly, we all share that mentality, right? We're not doing this for money. We're not doing this for glory or fame or anything. We're just doing this because we all are really passionate about teaching people in whatever way we can. I mean, me and Ken back at uni, we spoke about this kind of stuff nonstop. I'm sure at some point there we've thought about creating some sort of website for helping people, and it's just about we just want to make sure that people are looked after, so to speak, in ways that we weren't able to when we were but wee lads,
Like it's just like you think back at uni, Luan, like there's people's art stations that you would look up to and admire, like Vincent Rosier, for example, and then you can just chat to him in the server. For me, exactly. The 5 year plan is building more of that, like building more network opportunities for people, and helping people get jobs, because it's always refreshing seeing someone join the server with the looking for work tag, and then X amounts later they kind of land a job. Doesn't matter where it is, like they're excited, and the server kind of, you can just feel everyone in the server kind of feels proud of them, like they maybe helped some way, one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, there's still obviously things we want to do as a business, and there's still like ways that we want to improve it. I mean, obviously we talked about mentorships, so that's something maybe coming down the line. There's the book coming down the line. Who knows what random idea I'll have with EXP Productions next year? Like maybe I'll make a Giga asset pack where the entire server has to fucking give something for me, right? So who knows what's down the line? But the short term, to just like straight up answer the question, is mentorships in a book, maybe.
Yeah.
Kryca?
I mean, the only thing I would add is, we're always looking to expand. It's not just, we're not completely shooting from the hip all the time. A lot of these things, are in discussion for months before, anyone outside of us hears about it. Even a few things we've considered and might touch on in the future is, expanding more into character art, or expanding more into VFX, and having more articles that touch that, or more, assets, tutorials, or whatever that touch that. And we've even done that somewhat in the tutorials. I believe we have the VFX tutorial out by Tyler Smith, which is a great one if you haven't seen it. And I think just continuing to grow and have the discussions, and as we move forward, as Kevin and Luan have both said, it's fantastic teaching people, and that's the whole reason I joined up with this plan. Was I loved teaching people, I loved helping people, and that's an awesome resource. I'm certain all of us wish we had when we were in uni. So yeah, I would say that's kind of our plan.
Well, I guess then, Luan, you know what time it is.
I do know what time it is. All right, all of you have to answer this. I'm gonna start with you, Tim. Okay. Experience Points Productions has now started publishing games, and you're the first game that's going to be published. What
game
are you?
am I?
And please don't fucking say a metaverse game.
You love the metaverse with NFT toys.
So, what is it? What's your game? What are we publishing?
What, my actual game idea? Okay.
Yeah, right now.
So,
live.
You ready for this? It's a game about robbing banks, right? But you are a guide dog, and you go in with your blind owner every day, and you have to case out the joint of the bank, and then I've probably pitched this to you before.
I've heard this one before. Go on.
And then you'll have like a second. So there's like 2 parts. You come in the day, you're casing out the joint, and it can be multiplayer. We can have multiple dogs coming in, and then at the there'll be like a second phase where you have to then use that intel that you've gained to break in, steal the money. It's a bit like whatever that bank robbing game that I've completely forgot the name is, but you're a dog.
The one you're
Well,
ripping
they
off.
don't have dogs in it, so completely original idea.
Sure.
All right, Kem.
I'll lean into what you love. I'm envisioning a battle royale game.
Ooh.
1,000 players though. 100's not enough. We'll go with 1,000 players.
Where the
Oh,
NFTs
goodness.
come in, though, that's what I'm confused about.
But the catch is that every player looks like Mark Zuckerberg.
The true metaverse.
So Mark always wins.
I see.
Oh,
Okay.
goodness.
All right, Kryca.
Okay. So I guess it's kind of like a town builder mixed with a like adventure game. So what would you do is you'd start off with like a small town, and travelers would like pass through, etc. And occasionally you could get trades. And the whole goal would be you would kind of trade in your town, get some resources, then use those to explore and get other resources, and eventually meet other towns. And so like you might build a ladder, and then that allows you to go like climb like a cliffside, or you might use a rope that allows you to go down into like a cave system or something, and you can gather resources, and then you bring those back to the town, and then maybe in the cave you found some like iron ore, and then you can start building a blacksmith for your town, and you'd slowly expand from there. So you kind of like build the world you can see as you go out. Like maybe you start and you're just in a forest, and then you find deserts, and then you find oceans, and you find all this other stuff, and then you're also kind of building your town and your community. A lot of the like community aspect, I took kind of inspiration from like the Firelink Shrine and Dark Souls, kind of how people go in and out of it, but it's still kind of like the hub of the game. Yeah, I think that's my game idea, I guess, if I'm on the spot.
Mine's not that dissimilar. It's actually something I kind of want to make, and I've started sort of toying with some ideas and writing some stuff down. But like, it's you work at a cargo hauling space station, and you have to manage the cargo coming in and out through the galaxy, and obviously it expands from there, etc. But like, there's also an illegal side to it, where you have to like stash certain things that are, let's say, black market requisites in certain ways that you can't be found. Taking a little bit of inspiration from I guess Papers, Please here a little bit, but like, yeah, it's just I really want to make this. I really like it. And then I have like this actual game idea, which I'm not going to get into, which is something I've developed ever since I was like very young. But that's a story for 50-year-old Luan. So, but yeah, the little cargo haul game. I really love that. It's a cute idea. I like it. All right.
There we go. We got EXP's first project.
First 4 projects. Cool. Thanks, Tim, for having us.
You're very welcome.
Yeah,
thanks for joining, everyone. This signs off the year of podcasts, and we'll be back in some point in January with some good stuff. We've got some things lined up, so hang around, everyone, and I'm sure we'll have another roaring year of EXP things going on. So yeah,
2021 will be just as great as 2020.
We've had that one. We've had 2021.
2022.
2021. Now it's time for 2020.
2021, mate. We're stuck. We're stuck, dude.
Feels like
stuck.
it, doesn't it?
2020, 2021, New Game Plus.
All right.
It's 2022. Fuck.
It does feel like that.
The hard
I
realization.
don't want to go to school today, but for the whole year,
Well. Goodbye, everyone. I love all of you, Mr. Community.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you wanna join the community side, do come over and have a chat on Discord. Go read some of the articles online. Check out the ArtStation and Gumroad pages. Have a watch of some tutorials over the holiday, and just have a wonderful, happy, merry Christmas time. And we'll see you on the new year. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.